Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today for an exclusive session with the Faculty of Medicine in Hradec Kralove Charles University. Today's webinar will go on for 1 hour. In the first half, we will discuss about the university, and then we'll move on to the Q&A session where you can type your questions in and we'll be answering them. Today, we have the Vice Dean with us, Professor Rudolph, and over to you, Professor.
Thank you very much. I'd like to extend a very warm welcome from the Hradec Kralove, as was mentioned, as a place with a difficult name to pronounce. That's why we call it HK. And I will briefly introduce our institution, who we are, what we offer, and how all things go. It will be in a very standard manner, so I will use the PowerPoint presentation, which I will briefly share with you, and that should be it. So, as was stated, we are just a member of the Charles University. Charles University is the largest university in the Czech Republic and also one of the oldest in the northern part of the Europe. There is more faculties of medicine in the Charles than the HK, but we're just one of them. What do we offer? Well, being a traditional faculty of medicine, which on top of that celebrates this year 80 years of its existence, and along with the HK, which celebrates 800 years since the first mention of the place as such. So we have many reasons to be proud of ourselves and to be proud of the achievements we made and proud of the place. So we are a standard faculty of medicine, which offers 2 undergraduate curricula, 2 master's courses, the general medicine and the dentistry. Both of these courses are slightly different in terms of their focus, in terms of what they produce and how they are just organized. Very briefly, and I'm not going to go into the details about the courses itself, but to have the idea about how these courses fare in terms of the entry. The general medicine, as I said, it takes 6 years. All 6 years are integrated. They're fully taught in English, and they start with the first couple of years having the foundational formative learning, and then practicing, learning things in the hospital, and then graduating after 6 years with the title MUDR, which is worldwide equivalent to the MD title. It's important to state at this moment that the title itself is widely recognized throughout the world in many countries as a part of the Charles degree, but as such, it's not a guarantee that given the graduate with this title is automatically enrolled in any kind of the medical postgraduate system in each particular country. So that it really doesn't really work in that way. And sometimes we're confronted with our graduates. They say, okay, they said your title is okay, but we still need this, and that. So that is important to know if the person wants to pursue the medicine and wants then to continue in the country of their selection or the choice, just to know exactly what does it take to enter the postgraduate training. Anyway, so it's a full master studies completed in 6 years. Every year we have intake, which is maximum about 105 students. In the brackets here, I show the total number of the students studying in this program. In the faculty, the number is changing. So at the moment, it's not this 334, it might be a little bit more. And that depends really on the graduation rate and the intake. The course itself, of course, is totally taught in English, which is not a native language for a country. And that's why it's not a free, the tuition fee free. So there's a tuition fee, which is also given here with an equivalent of roughly the 16,000 plus euros a year. Plus, of course, the people who study with us and they're from abroad, they have to factor in the living expenses, which we believe are relatively affordable again. So we have to count on further costs of the accommodation, the food, leisure, travel insurance, and all these things. So it's just not the final amount of money the sponsors have to be ready to pay for these studies. The general medicine studies are focused on preparing the candidate or the student to enter any kind of the postgraduate medical specialization study, regardless of the final choice. So the course is meant for all future graduates, whether they join the public sector or they become the clinicians or they join the science. So it's in this way rather indiscriminative. On the other hand, another or second master's course we use and we offer, which is the dentistry, is a slightly different story. The dental course is very practical from the very beginning, because the dentistry in a way is the craft, state of the art, but still craft. So that's why the students are systematically prepared for their future dental profession. So there is mostly no space for any theoretical or public sector work. So all dentistry students, they want to be dentists in the first line. So that translates to rather intensive person-in-person or face-to-face training, which means that we have only a limited number of students to be taken in each and every year. It's a maximum 25. The successful graduate is MDDR, which is equivalent to MDD. And the one bonus to this course is that it takes only 5 years. And after 5 years, no need to further specialize is given, because as by the credentials of the EU. So after 5 years, in principle, the students or graduates are ready to practice without any further supervision. The course itself is very demanding in terms of the labor force, in terms of the cost of the materials and equipment. That's why even the final tuition fee is slightly higher than the tuition fee for general meds. It's important to say that we're a faculty which is affiliated to the hospital, where most of the clinical or all of the clinical seminars, practices, and the training happens. In this case, we're talking about the University Hospital in Hradec, Kralove, which is the largest hospital here in this region, Bohemian region. We're talking about the less than 1 million patients which are ambulantly treated, with a number of state-of-the-art and excellent centers, and also the high-tech equipment, and with a number of course, other offered options, such as the research and development possibilities. There is also the place with the highest concentration of the qualified doctors, nurses, and other medical personnel. For some of our graduates, it's also the place where they just continue in specializing after they graduate from us, because it's rather convenient, and by that time usually they know how the system goes, and offers them also these opportunities. So that's just general idea about who we are and what we are. Well, let's go back to the procedure. Okay, maybe you would think, okay, that's one of the places I'd like to consider for application. I'd like to consider upon my future studies. So what should I do in order to qualify? Well, what should you do? First of all, you need to complete the secondary school. That's, of course, important. The important thing also is that all the entry procedures could be carried out independently of the completed secondary school, but the secondary school has to be completed and has to be credited at the worst before the beginning of the academic year, which typically starts in the October of the given year. So at the moment, we're looking at the intake of our prospective students for the academic year 26-27. So beyond the secondary school, what else needs to be secured? A successful candidate has to apply through the electronic application form. This is the online application. The deadline is 30th of April, or the end of April at 26, or as based on our agreement. And then the given candidate at that point, if the application is successfully accepted, is invited to entrance procedures, which are typically 2 rounds. The first is SBA test, based on the factual knowledge of the biology, chemistry, or physics, or mathematics, with the specified number of the questions. The questions, as you could see here on the right and the top side, or you might see, includes usually a question with the 5 answers and one of them only possible. And later on, and independently on the written test, all the candidates have to sit the very short oral interview, which is not a formal anymore. It is based on more on this interpretation, decision, assessment, just the talk and communication skills. So both sort of like a test, or both rounds are then allotted certain number of the points. The written is 60 points, the oral 40 points, and the cutoff mark is established or is given each year to distinguish between those who qualify and who don't. The results from this entrance procedure is quickly communicated to candidates, usually in a couple of days, and then the candidate, if he or she receives the positive admission letter, then is given a certain time to decide whether to accept the offer or not, with the follow-up steps. The dates for these entrance procedures are various. With the Cadre International Consultancy, we have established already the dates for the upcoming year, and they're available both partially on our website, as well as they could be directly obtained from the Dr. Kadri and his the team. Usually it's twice a year. The one round of the terms, the January, February, and another round of these terms is roughly in the April. Why is that? Because the students should have enough time, even if they accept our offer, to arrange the various other the administrative duties, especially the visa and other things. So that is this part of the story. You may wonder what it takes. So what are the questions in this entrance exam, and how should I prepare for them? Well, the first and the most important thing is that these questions, or the past year exam paper, is published on our website, and that is why you can download it, and you can just print it, and you could see how such an exam looks like. In case that you're still not sure what some questions mean, that we also have the same place on our website, some syllabi and some recommended sources, which should just focus those who would not know exactly to what exactly they're supposed to know, and they could be able to compare it with the present with the actual knowledge they have from the secondary school. So that is, I think, for that part of the story. I believe, and is my strong opinion, that the application, and the admission is a rather easier part of the entire story, which begins with this. So once the students apply, they get admitted, and eventually they arrive in the Czech Republic to start studying and enroll. They will wonder, how would they study? So the few words about the organization of the study, which of course employs the deals of the theory as well as the practice, and also to know about the timing. The most important thing is that the study of the medicine is not that time-free as in many other study subjects and study universities or study programs. It cannot compare itself to engineering, art, and other humanities in a way that is rather tightly regulated in terms of the timing. So if the study begins in October, the students is not free to reach us in January, or to take the breaks because of this or that reason. They have to simply follow rigorously certain schedules, which are just broken down to winter semester, October to Jan, and summer semester, February to May, with some interim periods being spent on exams and things. As I said, the forms of the training are different. We put more and more emphasis on self-studies. So instead of sitting long hours in the lecture halls on the practicals, just to have only a very intensive time together, face to face with professors, while other lectures and other times you could study yourself. You could find online, streamlined, or just deposited, or you could have it as sort of like a specific digital platform. And you spend the time in school only to train practically and to discuss things which are difficult to understand and things. So the tuition fee and tuitions are nowadays quite different and quite variable. The studies, of course, they need to be periodically checked, whether your progress or the progress of students in terms of the knowledge and the skills they have to acquire, they master. So they're just ongoing and progress tests on the written nature, either using the electronic devices or the paper forms. Plus, there are also the final exams, which are written and the oral with the 3 attempts. And these are organized specifically as based on the schedule. So what it takes to study medicine, and I believe that is not only for us, but for other faculties of medicine. So it's very intensive in terms of the study, but also in terms of the life. The life is also intensive because it's perhaps for the first time when the students are on their own and they have to learn their independence. And it's also the time when the students should grow and become more mature in terms of the using the brain critically, in terms of they've been able to organize their time to be at most efficient in order to make decisions right away and to bear the consequences of these decisions, and in order to exercise some of the noble features such as the patience and drive. And last but not least, the students should be very much versed with the communication skills, which is one of the basic needs in the medicine. So that sounds really intimidating, but it's not, because you would, in case that you would choose us, and in case you would consider the HK, that you would also get the benefits to study in the really new facilities. At the moment, we have the old facilities plus the new ones called Campus One, which is already standing since 2015. This is one of the core buildings where the brand new equipment is, with all the modern technologies. Those who would just join us the next year, they would benefit from the entire campus, because the phase 2 is scheduled to start off fully and become operational since the fall of 26. I'm not having actual photos. I'm not just showing. I don't want to show the photos of construction site, but this is how it's supposed to be. So we're now having already facility number 1 constructed here, and these facilities are being made. So then they're ready for the fall 26. So for all those who would join us the next year, they will study exclusively in this campus, which is collective campus of the HK Faculty of Medicine and Faculty of Pharmacy, which is literally speaking next door to the university hospital, because this is already a hospital. There'll be the sky bridge, so the students and the doctors would have a direct contact. So the one thing is where to study, a very cultivated environment and things. Where to study from. We have extensive library services, which is not only like a traditional books you could see, because nowadays not many people really care for these books, but there's also lots of resources which we buy and we provide our students on an exclusive basis of them being for our students only. So the clinical key from Elsevier, AMBUS, journalist courses, and that is what makes the study today kind of easier, but all the more demanding, because now everything is at hand. So there is no complaint about just whether you have it. So the modern rooms and things, that comes for granted with a lot of simulators. We have a brand new and growing simulation center where the state-of-the-art techniques and dummies are available for training and for the basic training of all the students before they're actually going to patients, in order to gain the confidence and kind of things. The studies of medicine is not only the medical line, but it's also the communication line, and it's also the research line. So the new coming students would be also trained in a bit of a research, which serves the two purposes, not only for them to be versed and to know about what the research is and how important research is for the medical advancement, but also to give them the opportunities to join the research actively with whatever departments. And among one of the benefits made to join the competition for the exclusive research day in the Mayo Clinic in Rochester in the US, which is a truly amazing experience for the students. And for many of them in the past, it was just a gate or gateway to the new life in the US or elsewhere. Now, this all sounds cool, but then again, we don't really forget about the students and us being humans. And being humans means that sometimes we are with the doubts, you're with the problems, you are with the issues. And that's important to know and acknowledge that we do care for you, students, and for all of us, also from the psychological point of view. So we have the psychological services, professionals. We have the services that help the students, and also activities that help the students to settle, to find the motivation and the focus, and to overcome whatever difficulties they suffer from, whether they be in the psychological or the organic in the nature, to make sure that the students have all conditions they could for the optimal progress in their studies. And in a way, this is also supported by the HK itself, because Hradec Kralove, and this is not a travel agency, it's the place which is smaller, but which is quieter, but offering anything what the modern city should offer to students in the young generation. That is not only enough other students, got 3 universities, but also friendly vibe, lots of places to meet the friends, like a cafes and things, and everything is very small, so you could just very easily bicycles, walking, in case that you would like to exercise a little bit, or just Uber or these taxis if you're used to it, share things. So that's anything which you might expect on the place of 21st century. So in a way, studies, no matter how intensive, could also be matched by other activities, including fun, including social events and gatherings, including the activities students organize by themselves. Our international students, they work under the auspices of so-called the International Student Union, and they organize a number of parties, number of activities for them, but also for the others, in order to make sure that the international students blend in with the Czech students. And that includes a wide range of things, plus of course the sports and other events. So with this busy life and with this busy engagement of our students, and the time passes by very quickly, and even the 6 years will pass in a minute. And where the studies began, the studies are done at the end. The students are invited into the historical hall of Carolinum, the hall of the Charles University in Prague, where in the specific ceremony, there will be proclaimed and granted the title Doctor of Medicine or Doctor of Dental Medicine. And they became our alumni. They're cordially invited to stay with us, to keep in touch with us, and to be part of our supporters or our growing community, or just they will just be on their own, and they will continue their further studies or further activities anywhere else in the world. So that is about all what I wanted to tell you. Of course, here I'm having this is sort of obligatory slide or obligatory piece of information where I should tell you that we're just not only having these phone contacts, the emails, but also we're on the Facebook, but most importantly on the Instagram and on other social media platforms, and we're always ready to answer and to help you with whatever inquiries you have. And with that, I'd like to thank you very much for kind attention, and I'll keep my fingers crossed for the decision making, because ultimately this is the most important and crucial thing. And it's not an easy thing if one is 18 plus or even less years old to decide for the medicine because it's the decision for the life. And then it's kind of very serious, and I'll keep my fingers crossed that your decisions are done all right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Rudolph, for that detailed presentation. So we'll move on to the Q&A session. Students, you can type your questions. There should be a button at the center bottom of your screen, Q&A. So we've got the first question by Basma. How can she practice in Czech Republic once she graduates as a doctor?
Well, the graduation from our faculty, from other faculty of medicine in Czech Republic, makes the transition of the students and the practicing in the Czech Republic easier. These students, of course, would need to enroll in the medical system, so that means that they have to pass the language exam. Again, not a big issue because the students have the inbuilt Czech language courses into the curriculum. So they're not studying in Czech, but they have to sit the Czech classes in order to learn basic communicative Czech to address the Czech patients. So for some of them, that becomes only second nature, that they would extend their Czech training a bit more. They pass the exam, and then they could just enroll normally, all right, to the Czech postgraduate system, and they should start, supervising or being supervised, actually, enter the residency program, and they could start practicing in Czech Republic. It's based on the offer and the acceptance. So there are no major impediments. Just the title and the language skills should be enough just for their entry into the postgraduate medical system in Czech Republic.
All right. Next question is by Muhammad Fahad. Do the students need separate house jobs or internships after the completion of 6 years to practice as a doctor?
Well, if one completes the 6 years course here or anywhere else, he or she is MD, but without any experience. So as based by the law of, I think that goes for most of the countries, without any further internships and the training, he is not allowed to practice. So that requires that the student after graduation first figures out where he wants to continue, learn what are conditions of the entry into this sort of medical system. Let me give you an example. Our graduate wants to continue in the UK, so he has to first, or she has to first learn what conditions so-called the UK Medical Council in London declares for our graduates. Until now, it's free of any testing. They in the future plan to launch the UK MLE testing, similar to US MLE, which every graduate has to pass if he or she wants to enter the postgraduate training in the US. So but that's just the decision, and that's the activity of the graduate himself. The faculty would not help or would not mediate any further activities in this respect. The faculty might only inform the student about this situation, that the student should start being in a 4th, 5th year, start looking around and really looking what to do next.
All right. Boton is asking, what is the age limit for admission?
Well, there's basically no age limit for the admission. So, of course, the age limit is somehow also determined by the time the given student finishes the Czech school. If the student is less than 18 at the time of the so-called enrollment, so certain decisions have to be approved by his parents or by her parents, but basically we have no age limit, either backwards or forward in terms of the entry.
All right. Question by Samaira Mimli. If they give the entrance exam in April, do they have the chance to enroll? And what if the seats are already reserved in the first lot of exam?
Yes. Just very simply, any student who or any candidate who sits and passes our entrance exams, no matter whether April, May, June, in some cases, the January and February, and accepts our offer has secured seat. It's the problem of the faculty to make the calculations or predictions in terms of the capacity that it would accommodate all students who set the regular exams. So just very simply stated, those who sit and pass in the April and they accept the offer, they don't have to worry about, or they should not worry about just that there are no seats. There will be always seats for them.
All right. Ayan is asking about the difference between the four faculties of Charles University and why HK stands out.
Yes, well, that's the standard each and every year repeating questions. And frankly speaking, I have no simple answer to it. The answer truly depends what are the preferences and what are the criteria of so-called the excellency or the choice a given candidate wants to prefer. Because each of 4 or 5 faculties of medicine of the Charles, they give the same programs or similar programs, and the outcome is the same. The graduates would graduate from the title from Charles University, even though on the diploma it said First Faculty of Medicine, HK. But in the end, it does not really matter because none of our faculties really stand out completely. So what to say about the exclusivity of the HK? Well, the HK is not meant for those who seek the very crowded, very intensive, very like a city life. The Prague is something like a big city in the world. So that means lots of people, lots of rush, lots of this and that with whatever good and bad it brings. HK is quieter, more pro-academic, green. Quality of these Charles is the same, but the quiet, leisure and things. So that's first like a decision making. Second is, for instance, the tuition fees, which might differ between each individual faculties of medicine, Prague versus HK or Pilsen. Another one is the type of curriculum, like a Prague 3 has a different curriculum than the rest of us. And also, the communities, the nationalities, or the friends experience and things. So something which each faculty has its own strong points and stands out in different way and thing, but none of us is so different, so perfect and so bad that they would be automatically accepted or not accepted. So simply here, I would just advise that if a given student wants to study in the Charles, and if he or she doesn't really know the try differences, that he or she has to inquire further. Maybe also entering the open day activities, what each faculty has. We have also the open day to learn a bit more. And best is sort of like a visit the Czech Republic, see the faculty itself, see the students, see the staff working in there, and then decide whether you like it or not. There is no other choice. It's similar. I usually at this point speak about the similar choice between the different cell phones, between the cars. Each car and each cell phone now offers you the best. So which one to choose? The one you have a best experience with, the one you like best. But without the personal experience, you cannot get it. So I'm not able to give any better answer to this question.
Thank you, Professor. Next question is by Wafa. Are there any student dormitories available near the university?
Yes, they are. Near the university means, say, 10 to 15 minutes walk. So by bicycle, 5 minutes or something. So this is for us near enough. They are, but they have their own standards. So, and these standards are not always the standards preferred by our students. So dormitories are available, sure. But many of our students, international students, still choose the private anyway, because of different reasons.
All right. We have some questions related to the requirements of the grades. So, for example, Amar is asking, what are the requirements to study medicine in the university?
At this point, we are very democratic. We're not really looking at grades, which is surprising because, of course, it's not the way the other universities and the other faculties work. For us, the most important thing is, in terms of grades, that the given secondary school is completed all right, with the transcript of the completion being recognized or nostrified by our system. And the nostrification doesn't really look whether the grade is A plus or B plus. It's just not this way. For us, important is that the given candidate has completed successfully the type of the secondary school education, which is recognizable and nostrified by our system. So sometimes it happens that the grades are not really amazing, but that is not our just point, because the given candidate has to sit our entrance exam anyway. So that shows whether he has the knowledge or not.
All right. Similar question by Iyad. Iyad is currently in 12th grade, completing two A-level subjects, and these are going to be in May, June 2026, while the application ends in April. So is it possible to apply with the expected future grades?
Yes, it is.
All right. Question by Ahmed. What actions are taken against a student who failed more than one subject repeatedly during the study?
Again, this is it. I mean, as I try to explain, I mean, when it comes to the final exams, each student has the three chances: one regular attempt and then two sort of like a repeats. If the student fails the third time subject, that is still not end of the story. That truly depends on the circumstances and the context, which is based on the credit system. At the moment, it will be just useless to explain the complexities of the system. Of course, we do have measures applied to make sure that the failures in the exams are reduced at a minimum. If the student fails first time, then he's offered help, and some measures are applied to make sure that he doesn't fail anymore. There are students who fail. If they fail more than one subject and if they failed repeatedly, their studies are terminated. We try the termination decision to keep it at a minimum level, but of course it cannot be avoided. So we do have measures. We have a special, our students have a mentorship. We offer the consultations. We simply have a number of measures applied to make sure that the students are successful in terms of the passing of their duties. And also we make sure that students are thoroughly and clearly informed about the conditions at the very beginning, so that they know what is their corridor, what they should do in order to make themselves successful, and where to find the help where they feel that they're not successful. So I think that's all what we could do. And what we do in that case, we try to keep at minimum really terminated studies and lack of success with the students.
All right. We've got around three questions regarding scholarships. Are there any scholarships?
We do have a scholarships of merit, which is rather recognition of the excellency during the studies, but none of the scholarships at place which would cover the tuition fee.
All right. Next question is by Rehan. Rehan has explained their situation of the grades and education, but I think that's a very case specific. So, Rehan, for the case specific, you can contact our office, Kadri International. We could help you. But the second part of your question, is the program recognized for USMLE? And Rehan has also visited Prague and Brno before, and he really liked the environment, so he's interested in applying.
Sure. Just the title is not a problem for USMLE, because USMLE is open to each and every graduate from the recognized schools, which is exactly the case of the Charles as well as the Brno and the others. So yeah, sure, no problem.
All right. Ayan is asking how much do the students have to pay for the residence or the living cost?
That depends whether a student rents these official student dormitory of the low standard or higher standard. The low standard means that it's a shared room and without uh, with it's a room shared with other tenants, and there are no separate social services. There is like a bathroom and things. They're all shared on the corridor, or it's just a full equipped studio or something. Or whether a given student wants to rent out the apartment or the studio or the entire house as a private. So the range is different. It could be rather low, but it could be very high. And I cannot specify it now concretely because I don't know exactly what's the standards of the given students are.
Uh, I can just add this one that we suggest that the standard this living cost is between $600 to $800 a month if you are living in a sharing one. I mean, of course, it can go up to $10,000 if you live like a king or queen. Then the different.
Yeah.
But normally we advise it between $600 to $800 a month should be enough. No, but again, that's up to your lifestyle. No,
Yes.
thank you.
All right. Question by Ahmed. How long does the visa application take? Is there time if they do the entrance exam in April?
Okay, it's very, very important and a critical question, and I thank you for that. I would say yes and no, because, okay, you have to understand one thing. Frankly speaking, the Czech embassy in Abu Dhabi is not the one, or the staff in the Czech embassy in Abu Dhabi is not the most accommodating. That's the fact. I cannot change, we cannot change, and nobody can change. So there is a time if the student passes the April exams and accepts the offer to have the very comfortable visa. But that depends on whether a student is smart with the help of our partners, and whether he or she sort of like collects all the required documents to start the procedure with the consulate or with the embassy as soon as possible, because in principle, the embassy has 60 days to issue visa. But that's just a theory, because in practice, it might take a long time before the students realize that they have to gather their documents, something is missing and things. So we immediately, once the student accepts our offer, we issue whatever documents are required for the visa applications, and we keep informing the students. And I believe that is even from the side of our partner, and Dr. Kadri, how important it is that these documents be prepared and applied in a very timely manner, because even the consulate itself or the embassy, they have a limited number of slots for the interview. So the documents have to be presented, and there is going to interview, then the papers are sent back in Czech Republic, the decision is made. So it may take a long time or it may take a shorter time. So if one simply accepts the offer, say in the April, towards the end of the April, and that takes very easy leisure 1 or 2 months before he or she starts collecting documents, they might get to a very stressful situation. Because still, May, June, July, August, a part of September should be enough to secure the visa. But each and every year, we repeatedly just meet and come across the cases when the people got the documents late, applied late, and then they're kind of stressing things. So we advise that all our just successfully accepted candidates, they start doing the visa procedure as soon as possible and take it seriously.
I just want to add this one that it's normally take between 3 to 6 months. So the moment you get your admission, please do not delay even a single day. If you delay it, you might be in trouble. So start preparing for the visa as soon as you get the admission. No, don't say okay, we will see, we haven't got our result or this one. Don't wait for this. Start preparing for the visa immediately. Thank you.
All right. Ayan is asking what is the percentage of international students in the faculty?
Well, just to have an idea, we have roughly 1,200 Czech students in the Czech program, in all our programs, without any discrimination. And collectively, we might have like a 400 plus international students in all our programs in the faculty. So we are talking about the one, it's like the third of the Czech capacity is taken by international students. Yeah.
All right. Fahad Kiani is asking, do the students get clinicalship attachment during all 6 years of the academic study, like rotation in each department, as they get in separate one-year house job after the completion of degree?
Well, that's, again, something which is sometimes causing a little confusion. The students who study the undergrad curriculum, the 6 years course, of course, they spend time in the hospital, they rotate departments, they get the so-called the internship, but they're not internship, which is being required by the medical systems post-graduation. So their internship is for the purpose of completing the undergraduate course, master's course, MD. So they would stay time in the internal medicine department, gynecology, surgery, blah, 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 just rotating, practicing for the state exams and things. But once they graduate, they're not officially, because even though they had these courses throughout the undergraduate studies, these would not count for any internships, which is often required by the medical systems of some countries, because some medical systems say, okay, we would accept you as a doctor in training if you show that you've been practicing post-school 1 or 2 years. And some students, they want to play it smart and they say, okay, we already had some internship throughout the pre-grad studies and things, but that's not the same story. That's the different story. That's why some of our graduates, they stay with us. They practice with us 1 or 2 years before they go back to home countries, because they could prove they already have the practical training or this internship.
Dr. Rudolph, this is something that that is confusing, because they are asking about the internship during their medical course. I mean, like in India, Pakistan, they have got 5 years plus 1 year internship.
Yes.
So your 6 years, including internship, you don't have this kind of system that
Yes.
that you have to take 5. So can you explain this one? After year 3, they will go for this. I mean, this one, clinical rotation for every one. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So basically, for us, it's a 6 years. First 2 years are deemed still like a foundation, or not foundation, like a basic training, basic subjects, starting with anatomy, structure, histology, then going to function, physiology, biology. By the third year, students are already in the hospital and they're taking the preclinical subjects like a pathology, physiology, propedeutics, when they start learning first things. And from the third to fourth year, especially on, they spend the time in the hospital, in the different clinics, in different clinical departments, where they learn not only theory, but especially practice, such as the eye medicine, the throat medicine and thing. And they continue with this until they reach the 6th year, when they will rotate the departments of the, as I said, the internal medicine, surgery, gynecology things, and preparing themselves for state exams. So practically from the 3rd year, they're clinically attached to the hospital, and they do work and they do study in the hospital different things. However, as was stated by Dr. Kadri, once they complete all that after 6 years, so it's still part of this undergraduate training. So the systems like in India and Pakistan there, where the students complete the same course in 5 years, and then they have the 1 year of clinical attachment postgraduate after all, postgraduate, and practicing 1 year, it's different one in Czech Republic. And both of them are not compatible in terms of what the medical systems of the countries then look at.
All right. Next question is by Basma. Is she exempt from the German medical licensing exam if they graduate from HK?
If they graduate in a HK and if she wants to continue in Germany, okay, she could continue. If the question was about this, I'm not sure what this whether it was just thing. But again, for the Germany to continue and to practice in there, she will have to fulfill the requirements of the entry into the system. The Charles University diploma, HK diploma, is one prerequisite. It's recognized there, but not the only one. There will be probably the other factors or other duties she would have to pass before she could join in the German medical system. But we have some German students studying with us medicine as well. So it should be no problem because the regular some of our graduates, they continue in Germany.
All right. Question by Rehan. Does the university have 2 intakes per year?
No, just one. One which starts in, say, late January and goes until the June. Just one round of intake. And all students have to start studying with us and enroll in the courses from the October. So just one start, one intake.
All right. Wafa is asking, if she gets accepted, will she have to pay a deposit to secure the seat?
We no longer have the deposit. We request that all the candidates who accept our offer pay the full tuition fee for first year. However, there is a little difference between those who sit the exam in January and those who sit exam in the April. But still, they're not paying deposit anymore. They're paying just a full tuition fee from the first year.
All right. Question by Fahad Kiani. Are the students registered for health coverage in affiliated university hospitals if they get sick, or do the parents have to arrange something?
Our international students have their own a practitioner, doctor, our doctor as a contact, as a number one contact in case the students get sick on something. And he is the one who is decisive first line. If the students get some more difficult issues, they will inform us. We'll try to arrange the specialized care. However, the students should not believe or should not think and should not feel as like a guarantee that if they have their own chronic diseases and they come along with them to Czech Republic, they'll be expected to be treated for these chronic diseases standardly the way they were treated back in their own country. So that's a different story. But immediate medical care is secured both in terms of the general medicine as well as the dentistry.
All right. Question by Barina. Can the entrance exam be taken online? If so, are there any specific countries where they can be taken?
Well, the entrance exams, our preference, of course, is just in person. That's why in the Dr. Kadri we have these dates. Up in the specific circumstances, they could also be online, but that is just not to be discussed right here. That could be then discussed more specifically with the Dr. Kadri.
Yes, I can just tell you that I mean, those who live in UAE, they have to take the entrance examination physically in UAE. Those who are outside, we can discuss about the online entrance examination, but not in UAE.
Yes, and the entrance examination dates are already out. So it's January 31 and April 19th. Of course, you can get in touch with our office to register for this. Question by Sabahuddin. Is she required to learn the Czech language for enrollment?
No, definitely not. It would be nice just to have a couple of words, but not.
Barina is asking, are extracurriculars required also if a person is not taking maths in grade 11 and 12 and is taking biology, chemistry, physics? Are they still eligible for admission?
Sure, because the exam is 3 subjects, written apart, biochem and physics or mathematics. There is a matter of choice.
Right, this also answers Wafa's question about the entrance exam. So we're going to skip that. Okay, question by Amar. What is the exact information being tested in the entrance exam? And we discussed about the online. Okay, so just the first part.
What kind of information? I mean, in case of the written test, it's actual factual knowledge. It's a factual knowledge and not really advanced one. It's a factual knowledge about the human body and the cellular composition and genetics in case of biology. In case of chemistry, basic, the organic and inorganic chemistry, the way it is being taught in the Czech schools, in different curricula. In terms of physics or mathematics, the same thing, the level, couple of calculations. Again, if the person is not sure about the scope and thing, you might just consult our website where the syllabus and the literature is. As far as the oral interview is not formal. It's sort of like usually candidates are confronted with the sort of like a situations, and they're asked to react to them, just to express their opinion, to demonstrate that they could think and they could just make the decisions. So there is no specific preparation for the oral part. That's simply in the oral part. It's just what the person sells himself or herself in terms of thinking, in terms of the reaction, and in terms of communication.
All right. Wafa is also asking, are there any classes that help teach the Czech language?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, they're just students take the classes in the first year and second year, they're in English, but also they have a classes of Czech language where they learn Czech language and the things. So that's inbuilt. That's something you don't have, one has to not to pay for or just seek. This is part of things. So Czech language is one of the obligatory subjects which has to be passed, has to be just passed and be credited, like anatomy, like histology, like anything else.
All right. Sharon has two questions related to the tuition fees. Is the fees same for preclinical and clinical years?
Yes, once the student enters the faculty and pays the first year tuition fee, the tuition fees remain the same for the rest of his or her studies, despite the inflation, despite the changes of the policy of the faculty, but all things, activities, same fees, first through 6 year.
And the second part is, would there be any additional fees that would be anticipated during the study years? And do the students get enough opportunities to work in an actual hospital setting?
Any additional fees, I'm not really aware of. If anything extraordinary is not in question, but I'm not aware of the students would be asked to pay any outstanding fees, unless they'd like to buy the best phonendoscope or something, which they might find useful for their studies. And in terms of, I didn't understand whether the question was intended to whether students could work while they study in the hospital, or whether students could work in the hospital after they're just graduate. Of course, they could, in principle, work in both cases, even though during the studies, most students do not find the time for their work. And that's not because there would not be enough time or the opportunities, but simply that most of the young people, and I should not just say that universally and think I was the same case when I was young. They don't have the sense of the good management of time. So if you can organize your time, even during your studies, you have a free time, so you could devote it with the work. But most students they're busy just studying. And if they graduate, after graduation, they could work in the hospital if they know Czech language.
Right. Wafa is also asking, how far is Hradec Kralove from the center of Prague?
I think 100 something kilometers. So basically, in terms of the time, there's a highway between the Hradec and the Prague. So with this highway, you could reach the Prague from HK about 1 hour. That's just on the outskirts of the Prague, and it takes usually, if you don't use the subway, another 20 minutes to reach the downtown on the Prague. That is the Wenceslas Square, Charles University headquarters, and these things. So just to give you a very basic idea, I could just reach the Prague in 40 minutes by car, but only the outskirts. Then usually I leave the car there, I take the subway, and takes me 20 minutes to reach the downtown.
All right. Ms. Sohat is asking if some universities ask for all the 3 A levels to be done in one session. Is that also the case for Charles University?
I'm not aware of it.
Barina is asking, what are some of the most common mistakes applicants that make that could be avoided?
That depends whether she means the mistakes concerning the entry procedure, or mistakes concerning the visa things, or mistakes that concern those who already enroll. Because that would just really be, if she means all three, we'll spend here another couple of hours showing you some mistakes and things. Well, one sure thing, mistake, or not a mistake thing, that these days students who apply for the faculties or studies, they don't apply on the one faculty exclusively only. So they apply in several ones in order to increase their chances that they're admitted. So then if once they're just get admitted to several faculties, they're the first kind of, not a mistake, but the first kind of issue the students have to say to decide which faculty to ultimately choose from. And very often they sort of like a dance around, and they make a decisions which complicate their life. So that's the one thing to be considered for sure. Another thing is that they make a mistakes in just underestimating the bureaucracy of the procedures. So they start tearing, and as Dr. Kadri stated, they would not apply for the visa if they finally decided which faculty they come to as soon as possible. And they don't really pay diligence and due sort of like attention to it. So they take it easy, and the time flies, and then they're just kind of stressed. Another sort of like a mistake is that if they think that everything comes to them without any effort, so they don't really actively inquire about things, about like how to get accommodation and things. So there are lots of things which basically could combine. And then definitely there are lots of things the enrolled students can commit as mistakes in terms of their early days in with the faculty, which will complicate their later stages of their studies. So at this point, I would advise, if these mistakes are to be avoided, that the students really make up their mind what they want to do, which faculties they have to apply to, and then to know exactly what are the conditions upon which these faculties would accept them. And then to make the mental list of what is their list of their top priorities, so which faculty they have to enter. And once they made it, so accept the offer and start working immediately and quickly towards securing this administrative background, and to make sure that they're prepared for the next stage of their life, because the next stage of their life with the faculty would be entirely different than the one they used to live until now. Because a life of independence is very exhilarating, but very demanding, because you bear responsibility, which sometimes students are not ready for. That's all in a short way I could say at the moment, because otherwise we will spend here evening.
All right. We're going to be skipping the next two questions because it's about the difference amongst the four faculties of Charles, and the next one is about the language of Czech required. So we've covered this already. The recording is going to be available. You can reach out to our office and we should be able to share that. Let's take the last two questions. One is by Basma. Is the interview going to be motivational or academic?
Motivational, not really academic, motivational and conversational.
All right. That leaves us with the last question by Ms. Suha. Could you please repeat what percentage of the merit-based scholarships could cover off the whole tuition fees? Because she forgot to note it down.
I'm not sure what is the merit scholarship, the actual value is at the moment, but if it's the one I think it was last year or something, it would cover 1/20th of the tuition fee. So as I call it, the scholarship of merit is good pocket money for a nice month or something, but nothing to be compared with the tuition fee.
All right. That means we've answered all of our open questions. At the same time, I'm also going to be dropping our contact number and email ID for students and parents to get in touch with us. Once again, the entrance exam dates are out. That is January 31st and April 19th. So you could get in touch with our office for further information. And with that, I think this is where we can wrap up our session. Thank you, Professor Rudolph, and everyone for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I wish all of you best time, and to prospective candidate students best luck in their decision making. Goodbye, and have a nice time.
Thank you very much, Professor Rudolph. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.